Jeżeli nie chcesz wolność, ja nie mogę pomóc. That's Polish for if you don't want freedom, I can't help you. Folks, it's Holy Joe Rock and Roll, and this is my take on the rise of ISIS in Iraq and Syria. My take, you know, not everybody, a lot of people are critical of President Obama, saying he's not doing enough, he needs to bomb these people. But you know what? If these people don't love freedom, that they're willing to fight for it, how am I supposed to help them? We cannot give people freedom who don't want freedom. Let's look at the history. You know, yeah, sure, we had the invasion of we had the invasion of Iraq. We kicked out Saddam Hussein, who was a Sunni, and kept a pretty tight leash on things. These dictators, love them or hate them, the country's usually pretty stable. Then, of course, after we toppled the Saddam regime, we trained these Iraqi soldiers who historically have not fought well. What happened in 1992? The George W. the Senior, 41, we invaded Kuwait, liberate Kuwait. They didn't fight. I mean, it took 100 hours. We defeated these guys in 100 hours. Now, you could say that we bombed the hell out of them, and we did. And there was that incident where we just bombed the heck out of that line of trucks and transports. But then we stopped because we were just devastating these guys. But anyhow, that was the first Gulf War. Then the second Gulf War, we won the war in 2 weeks. I mean, they didn't fight. They took off their uniforms and took off their boots and walked home barefooted. So, and they were fighting the infidels. They were fighting the Americans, or supposedly. They didn't fight then. So what was it? 10, 20, $30 billion in 10 years of training? They still didn't fight. But of course, it's a little bit more complicated than that. The previous prime minister, al-Maliki, was a Shia. Shia. And of course, he is not Sunni. And he spent 15, 20 years in Iran. So now he was Iran's puppet. And of course, now that the Shias were in power, they started to put it to the Sunnis, who were the Baathists, right? Not all of them were Baathists, but hey, not all Nazis were bad either, right? Sometimes you had to just join the party to get into the party. But you know what? The biggest problem going back, of course, was Bremer. Remember Bremer? He was like, I don't know, some kind of whatever he was. He did the biggest mistake of all. And I hope people take note of it. He disbanded the Saddam Hussein's army. Now, these Iraqi generals told Bremer that we've got 10,000 or more Iraqi soldiers ready to go to work for reconstruction of the country. But because Bremer decided that he would de-Baathicize the country, he disbanded the army. And that is what caused one of the reasons for the rise of al-Qaeda in Iraq started up. But then, of course, they started to realize that being part of this, I'm talking about the Iraqis themselves, the Sunni tribes themselves, realizing that being part of al-Qaeda was hurting yourselves. You're killing your own people. Who the hell are you killing? Your car bombs and suicide missions, and you're killing your own people. So the U.S. was able to form sort of coalition with the tribes, the chiefs of the tribes. Again, it's all tribal. It's tribal people. And these Sunni tribal people joined forces with the U.S. and basically created what was known as the Awakening, got rid of al-Qaeda, or what was left of it, al-Qaeda, in Iraq. Of course, if you fast forward a little bit, then Maliki came to power, started really putting down the Sunnis. And of course, the stuff that's happening in Syria bled over. And you've got all these Sunnis who are feeling oppressed by the Iraqi government, which they didn't feel part of. They felt disfranchised from. And that may be why in the latest iteration they didn't fight. Because if you're Sunni and a bunch of Sunni guys are coming, why am I going to fight my brothers if they're your brothers, right? I mean, it's like if your family came to your house all armed, I mean, would you try to stop them if they believed, at least they were your tribe, they were your people? And that's kind of what happened. So what should we do? Are they really a threat to us? Okay, yeah, they beheaded some journalists. And journalism, being a journalist is one of the worst jobs, definitely one of the top 10 worst jobs you can have, especially if you're in the Middle East and whatever. If you don't love freedom, how can I give it to you? Freedom is taken away from you when you let people take away your freedom, right? I'm talking about in normal terms. Obviously, if you're incarcerated, you're in jail. Well, unless you resisted arrest or whatever, there's nothing you can do. You're stuck. But this is different. We're talking about peoples in your own country not even trying to stop these guys. So while I do believe that the U.S. should help out, it's almost like, I hate to admit it, but President Bush's containment idea may be the best strategy. You don't want to defeat these guys too quickly, because then you're helping the Iranians. And I would use this as a moment of leverage against Iran. You don't want to help us? You want to keep building a nuclear weapon? Then guess what? These Sunni assholes called ISIS or Isil are coming for you next. That's the plan. That's their plan. They're going to definitely come to Iran first before they come to the U.S. in any kind of major way. So that's leverage. That's leverage against Iran. You want us to help you? You want us to be the Iranian Air Force in Iraq to defeat, ISIS? But, having said that, there was times, there was moments, and maybe it's still going on, when you had basically caravans of these assholes in their pickup trucks, with the machine gun mounted on it, that's known as a tactical, with their tacticals and their jeeps or trucks, stolen vehicles, doing a parade down the main street. And that's why we should not have disbanded the A-10 Thunderbolt II project. A couple of A-10s could have swarmed down there, rained holy hell on that caravan, and just taken out probably 10,000 people. Well, folks, it is a fluid situation. This has been In the News. I'm Holy Joe Rock and Roll for HJRR TV. Until next time, don't go to Iraq. Peace.